Welcome boys and girls. In today's video, we're back underneath the hood of the Jeep. We're going to be adding some new fasteners to the exhaust manifold from Stage 8 locking fasteners. And we're going to be adding some other goodies to the intake. So let's get into it. Well, you guys are joining me partway through the disassembly of everything, and I'll explain why I'm adding the Stage 8 locking fasteners. So on one of our last trips to the cinders, this front exhaust manifold bolt fell out because I'm guessing I didn't torque it tight enough, and we did drive on a lot of washboard roads, so I'm thinking it just loosened itself and fell out while on the trail. And it's a pretty bad exhaust leak. I've already removed the top bolt, so it's a pretty significant gap in there, but you could feel the exhaust shooting out towards the radiator when this fastener and it was all put back together. So I don't really want that hot exhaust gas blowing onto my radiator, which could cause temps to rise in the coolant. So I figured I picked up this kit from Stage 8 locking fasteners. They are locking bolts. I'll get into this. I'll pop this container open to show you guys what it's about. I think this would be a one and done situation while using these bolts. So getting into the Stage 8 kit, they're patented grooved bolt with a locking retainer, and then the clip goes into the top. There is a channel cut in for the clip to snap in there, and then with the locking retainer, if you put this on correct, the right torque spec, and you put it together right, you should have zero failures. At the most, this bolt could back out a little bit and stop itself on the closest object, like the water pump, the exhaust manifold itself, or the intake. So you should have zero issues with this if you install it the right way and torque it down correct, unlike what I did in the first install. But it comes with the full kit, 11 clips, 11 retainers, and 11 bolts. So it should be one and done. Just buy once, cry once if you're going to replace this manifold. And it's kind of a bigger job. So just buy this kit and you should be good to go and have zero issues in the future. And then from here, I will be installing this on the bottom of the intake itself, since it's about 3 to 4 inches from the exhaust manifold. I think some adhesive backed reflective type tape will help reflect the heat off of the intake, which will make cooler temperatures for the air going into your intake. So I will get back to it. I'm going to remove the intake and the manifold. From there, I'll show you the install of this backed aluminum adhesive. I will have a link to this down below also. And then from there, the install of the Stage 8 locking fasteners. I got the intake off, and I got a little tip for you guys if you want to use it. This little bracket bolts to the side of the intake, kind of like that. Take this bracket off, and it connects to this hard fuel line right here. I honestly don't think it's really needed, the bracket, because with this fuel line running to the top of the intake and the fuel rail, it's held in place just fine. And it makes reaching the bolt, I think right here or down here, this bolt down here, a lot easier because there's no bracket in the way to reach to get that. So remove that bracket. I don't even think you need it. You just throw it in the garbage and you should be good to go. But I got all the bolts off. The manifold is free, and let's inspect it to see if it has cracked at all or anything like that since the last install video. Alright, well, inspecting the manifold, all of the welds on it from the factory, and it looks good. I don't see any cracks on it at all where all the pipes lead to. 3 leading into 1, and then them going together to the down pipe. And this is the, I want to say it's the $100 exhaust manifold from Rock Auto. I got 2 of them because they had a typo on their website, and they're actually like $4 a piece. So I ordered 2 of them, which I should have ordered like 10 of them for $4 each. But yeah, this is good to go. No issues with it at all, 0 cracks. So there is no gasket on it, but I will just clean up this mating surface a little bit for the new gasket, and I'll just pull the gasket from the other exhaust manifold I got. Over here on the engine side, you can see this front part of the gasket where the bolt came out is pretty burnt up from the exhaust gases. Looking at it, this possibly, let's pull the gasket off. No, looking at that, that does look pretty good, but you could tell the soot or the just it burnt from the exhaust gases right there. Other than that, this gasket isn't half bad. I am going to throw it away though and use the other one. Then from there, I'll just wipe down this surface again, just like in the previous video. And then from there, we can get to it. Oh no! Well, looking at it, there's my issue. The stud broke off inside of the block. Okay then, we're gonna have to extract that bolt out. Dang it. Okay, and from there, I will have to take that stud off of the block for the kit. But yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that bolt out of there. I'm gonna have to go to the hardware store or O'Reilly's and get a bolt extractor. Well, this is where I'm at. I hit the bolt with PB Blaster several times, and then if you could see that in the center, I took a 1/8 drill bit, drilled it about 1/8 of an inch into the stud itself. Then I had to run to Harbor Freight, and I got this minty little Icon bolt extractor kit. They do have a, right here, a 1/8 extractor. So I've let that sit with PB Blaster on it for a while now, so I hope it's gotten in there pretty well. But we're gonna back this bolt out. And the stud on the back over there, I was able to get out no problem using some PB Blaster and a pair of pliers. So I'm hoping, unfortunately, you know, it sucks that it broke, but I'm hoping to get this bolt out with 0 issues. Well, that just happened. The extractor just broke off inside of the hole that I made. So yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to step it up to 5/30 seconds, and hopefully I have a drill bit to fit that. I think I do have a 5/30 seconds, so yeah, I'll have to drill out the old extractor and make the hole larger to use a 5/30 seconds. This is where I'm at, and this is boogered up. I was able to drill on the side of the broken extractor, but it's right next to the block and it messed up the threads. So I tried to use an extractor, another one in there, and I was unable to get anything because it's the block itself. So I was just trying to extract part of the block, which isn't working or didn't work. So I'm kind of at a crossroads here. I think I'm just going to put this back together. Put the reflective tape on the bottom of the intake, and then put the whole exhaust manifold, everything back together, and just have an exhaust leak right here. I think I'm just going to have to deal with it and have an exhaust leak coming out of the front of the motor. And then don't tell Natalie, but this will justify getting a new motor for the Jeep sometime in the future. So I think I'm going to use this as an excuse. So don't tell her. But that is my plan. I think I'm just going to put this back together and kind of rock with it. So let's get the reflective tape on the bottom of the intake, and then we'll start bolting this thing back up. So the plan with this is I'm just going to trace out around it with a Sharpie, just to get kind of a template on the reflective. And then from there, I will cut it out, just stick it to the bottom of the intake, and then I will use a razor blade from there to kind of cut out all of the slots and stick it on there. But before I do that, I'm going to clean the bottom of this intake with some brake cleaner and some acetone, just so we have a good surface for the reflective to stick to. I got the reflective put on the bottom of the intake, came out pretty good. I just had to cut in a lot of spots with a razor blade to make it kind of contour to the bottom of the intake. I really hope this does make somewhat of a difference, but I've had this reflective for a while now, just sitting in the box, so I figured since I'm pulling it apart again, might as well stick it on there. So this is good to go. I did spray the gasket for the manifold with the copper spray, and that is curing. I'm going to stick that to the manifold, and then from there we're going to bolt up the intake and the manifold onto the block. I got the reflective put on the bottom of the intake. Came out pretty good. I just had to cut in a lot of spots with a razor blade to make it kind of contour to the bottom of the intake. I really hope this does make somewhat of a difference, but I've had this reflective for a while now, just sitting in the box, so I figured since I'm pulling it apart again, might as well stick it on there. So this is good to go. I did spray the gasket for the manifold with the copper spray, and that is curing. I'm going to stick that to the manifold, and then from there we're going to bolt up the intake and the manifold onto the block. All right, with getting the copper spray on the gasket, it's on the block now, and I got the reflective on the bottom of the intake. I'm going to start putting this thing back together so I can explain the Stage 8 fasteners to you guys. All right, I'll give you guys an update and the progress of installing these Stage 8 fasteners. They are all in and tight down to torque specs. Torque specs 24 foot-pounds, but I'm just doing 25. And here is how they look. It has the retainer and the retaining clip on it, kind of right against the manifold. So if that backs off at all, it's, I don't even know, a 1/16 of an inch, if that. This one's off a little bit, but just because of the splines. And they are all good to go and tight. All of them on the top, all of them on the bottom, obviously except for this one. And there was one other one over here in somewhere around this area, but underneath, where the head of the bolt itself for the retaining ring and everything was too long to just fit in the manifold. The manifold and the clearance, there was no way for me to get it on there. So I had to use a old exhaust manifold bolt, but I snugged that one tighter than the others, so I'm hoping that one does not walk itself out. But other than that, all of them fit. I think it's just a manifold issue, not a issue with the fastener. So we are good. This is how it's looking. Give you guys a little demo and explain it. And I think this is a good upgrade. If you're going to replace your manifold, might as well do these bolts too, so it's kind of a one and done type thing, and you don't have to worry about any bolts falling out or anything, even if you don't do the right torque specs and you just tighten it up, you know, as tight as you can. But I'm going to get this thing back together and we're going to wrap up this video. All right, we got the Jeep fully back together, and as you could hear in the background, it is idling, just smoking a little bit because I had to throw my backup or my extra brand new exhaust manifold on there because the old one was slightly bent near the front where that stud was broken. So I hope I don't have this issue with this one, but I guess it doesn't really matter because in however much time I'm going to get a new motor for this thing, and I'm just going to do a new manifold anyways, and probably a new set of Stage 8 fasteners, just so everything's brand new and good to go. But it's idling just fine, zero issues. I turn the camera around, and here we go. Got the funnel out to top off the power steering fluid in it because I had to put in a new power steering pump, but it is looking fine. Other than that, zero issues. Everything is good. Doesn't look like any vacuum leaks or I missed anything. So the Jeep is ready for our next adventure. I will have a link down below to the Stage 8 fasteners for the Jeep 4.0. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, you guys.